Yes, welcome to another week of the Schrager Hour. This is our third episode, and I am fresh off what feels like a 5-day bender in Las Vegas. And one of the things I want to do on this podcast is share my stories from the road, because I'm going to be going on the road every week. And I came in early to Vegas on Saturday because I got to attend Raiders practice, do a production meeting. But really, as I sit here today, I really came in early because I wanted to go to the boxing match, and I went to Canelo-Crawford, and it was incredible. I will say this, Canelo-Crawford was my favorite live sporting event that I have ever been to as a spectator. I have worked Super Bowls, and I have worked a bunch of cool NFL things, but as a spectator, I've been to big Knicks games, I've been to big Rangers games. I had never been to a major prize fight before, and Netflix put together such an event. And I think it played on streaming. Like, I think you felt it at home and it felt like the fight of the century, but in the arena, there is nothing like that walk down the tunnel from these boxers. Electric. And I get there and I'm with my friend Steve and friend Mike, and those guys were there separately, but I know those guys, and I'm like, let's link up. I've got some access because I know some of the Netflix folks. We get there. If you watch the video back, there's Mike Tyson sitting ringside. Then there's another row of people, and that row of people is like Tom Segura, the comedian, and Tony Hinchcliffe, the comedian, and that Matt Friend who does all the imitations. They're in that next row. Then you'll see my dumb mug right behind them. Third row, and parallel to me, listen to this crew that's parallel across the aisle. Long blonde hair, hat, and an American flag jacket, David Spade, who he and I were just, we're going to have David Spade on the pod because he was so funny this evening. We kept on just looking at each other, making jokes. He's next to Charlie Sheen. So Charlie Sheen is 20 feet from me. Then you got Dave Chappelle, who's sleeveless and might be the biggest Bud Crawford fan you've ever seen. Charlize Theron, Logan Paul, his buddy Mike from that podcast, his manager, Jeff, he's there. Then you've got this whole entire like NBA scene of Magic Johnson and James Harden and Russell Westbrook. And then you've got like Steven Jackson from the NBA and Matt Barnes. I'm going on and on. This was electric. And I'm not just because it's the celebrities. It's because the celebrities and everybody there were all dialed in to this fight. And then the fight actually delivered. I am not a boxing analyst. I am not Max Kellerman. I am not John Anik. I couldn't even get into all of the sweet science breakdowns. But when you're sitting that close and everyone, 80,000 people in the stadium, because this is not at a basketball arena, this was at Allegiant, 80,000 people in the stadium dialed in, rooting one way or the other. And I will tell you, as much as it felt like Bud Crawford had the crowd behind him, there was an Alvarez crowd. I mean, Crawford comes out and first he plays mariachi music as he's walking out. And I don't think Bud Crawford's ever walked out first, but he walked out first. And then Canelo Alvarez comes in, and then they just had a slugfest. And it was awesome. And Crawford wins. And it was really cool. And the next morning, I wake up, and I'm like, all right, I'm preparing for Monday Night Football. And I get the heads up that Crawford's going to be at Monday Night Football, and I'm going to be the one interviewing him in the third quarter. So sure enough, there I am, third quarter of Monday Night Football, and I'm interviewing the undisputed champion of the world who just fought up 2 weight classes. And it was really an amazing experience. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to A, have the schedule work out where I was assigned Monday Night Football, but B, to get to attend that. I guess they're going to have a rematch. I want to go. I don't know if it's in Mexico City or if it's in Vegas or if it's wherever. But it was a really cool experience. And I would say one of the funnier things of the boxing match is Michael Irvin is there. And you know the energy that Michael Irvin has when he's talking about Miami football, or the energy that Michael Irvin has when he's talking about Cowboys football. Michael Irvin was seated there next to Charlie Sheen and David Spade, and maybe 2 seats over from like Ted Sarandos, who runs Netflix. And Michael Irvin is on his feet shouting as if it's a Miami football game and he's cheering on Carson Beck and he's doing the U. I mean, he is the loudest person in the entire arena and he's cheering on Bud Crawford. And I'm just looking at Irv and I'm like, I don't know how old he is. I don't know what he's doing right now, but like that pure fandom and the passion that is unmatched. And that is what sports brings. It was a really weird week in America. And I got to this fight and it was like, all right, everybody in this room right now and the 40 million people watching at Netflix for a couple hours, let's put everything behind us and let's put everything on the side, at least for just a little bit of a temporary pause. And let's celebrate two of the greatest fighters in the world, putting on a world-class show and classy at the end. Like there was no smack talk at the end. Obviously, every fight they give the former champion his belts back, and that's what Crawford did. But in every interview that Crawford did after that thing, he showed such sportsmanship and class. It was just a really cool experience. As for the game itself, I came in with really high hopes that the Raiders were going to give it everything they had and compete with the Chargers, and they had opportunities. The funny thing is, a lot of people fell asleep because it was so late. And you might have missed this, but they're down 11 late, and Omarion Hampton has a really bad fumble, the rookie for the Chargers, and the Raiders get the ball back, and it's like, all right, they've got a chance to seize the opportunity, and they just couldn't. I come away from that with my big takeaway of being in Vegas all weekend, and then, of course, being at the game and being around both teams. This Chargers team is for real, and I know we've said that before in September. I know we've done that. But their defense is so good and so big. They have 300-pound people on the defensive line, and then they've got the best linebacker core in football. Now, we'll see if Khalil Mack gets back from this injury, but they're so big, they're so deep on defense that once you get a score, it feels like you just climb Mount Olympus. Then you got to do it again and again and again because on the other end, it's Justin Herbert, who's one of the best quarterbacks in football and is now in year 2 in that Greg Roman system. I don't think this is a fluke start. I think the Chiefs have their hands full. I think the Chargers are for real. The Raiders, it's going to be a process. They've got a lot of nice pieces. I'm just not sure they're going to be able to run away with the division or really compete in that division if the Chargers and the Broncos and the Chiefs are going to elevate their games. My big winner for week 2, though, was Jared Goff. So I got dragged online quite a bit by Lions fans for 2 reasons. One, I said the Lions weren't going to make the playoffs this year. I said that on McAfee, and I said it with a lot of bravado. And then I did this prediction special, and I said it again. And Lions fans were very sensitive to that because here's a team that was number 1 in all of football last year and just by every offensive category. They were the 1 seed in the NFC, and they had their defense just rattled with injuries, and the doors fell and the wheels fell off at the end of the season, and they lose to Washington. I thought that the loss of Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn would be paramount and be too much to overcome. So I didn't have them going to the playoffs. Then after week 1, I looked like a genius, and I wasn't celebrating the fact at all because I don't take joy in it. I just thought that would happen. They silenced a lot of people, me included, in week 2. That was some performance. Jared Goff, 5 touchdown passes. John Morton dialing it up as if he had Ben Johnson's offense and then some. I loved what I saw from the Lions in week 2, and I loved what I saw from Jared Goff. I think he heard it. The stat was damning. 3-18-1 in games where Sean McVay or Ben Johnson wasn't calling the plays for him. And I brought it up on ESPN last week on NFL Live, and I think that clip made the rounds. And I don't think he responded to me particularly, but I think there was a lot of noise over the fact that John Morton, the offensive coordinator, Dan Campbell, the head coach, and then Jared Goff, a guy who's a 4-time Pro Bowler and is in the top 40 in just about every offensive category in the history of quarterback play, was being doubted after just 1 loss in Green Bay. It might just be Green Bay's defense is excellent, and the Lions could be really good too. Jared Goff, 5 touchdown passes and a work of art against that Bears defense. He's the week 2 player of the week. The sports media winner of the week is the guy who puts the red circle around the defensive player on Amazon Prime's broadcast. That's very in the weeds. I could have said Greg Olsen was great on the Cowboys-Giants game. I could have said Collinsworth really nailed what was going on in that Falcons-Vikings game. The guy who's in charge of putting the circle around Micah Parsons is the winner of the week because we saw what Micah Parsons can be in Jeff Hafley's defense. So I texted Mark Titleman, who is the executive producer of that game broadcast, and the guy who does it, and he says, it's actually a tool that they built at Amazon that they can do that. And I wouldn't say it's AI, but it seems like it's awfully like AI, that there's not a human being who's in charge of just circling them every time. It's actually a tool that they built in the truck and they've been spending months working on that they can highlight key defensive players. And if you go back and you watch that broadcast, Micah Parsons was used on the outside. Micah Parsons was used on the inside. He was used over center. He was everywhere. And you knew it because they had a giant red circle around him just tracking him. It sounds like an easy thing to do. It sounds like just an obvious thing to do, but not every broadcast does this. And it was for the first time, especially in the Packers uniform, obviously, but it was the first time that I've seen a player of that caliber be tracked and be shown how he can be used in so many ways. So kudos to Amazon, little small business that's going to make it, I think. Whoever thought of that idea and the engineers behind it, and then to the truck, T-Man and whoever else they got working, wonderful job giving us an opportunity to see how Micah Parsons is used in a really cool, innovative way. All right, our first two guests were awesome, Sean Payton and Al Michaels. I think our third guest is up for the challenge. Let's get to one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history, maybe the best Giant to ever put on a uniform. With no further ado, two-time Super Bowl champion, one of the greatest New York athletes of all time, and one of my favorite players to ever cover when I was doing it. Back when he was the star quarterback of Big Blue, Mr. Eli Manning, welcome to the Schrager Hour.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks for having me on, man. Excited to chat with you for a little bit.
It's a thrill for me still. I was covering the Giants when you got drafted, and here we are all these years after, and I still look at you as this guy who's had some of the biggest moments ever in football history. And yet I hear what you're doing now, and it's, of course, there's business stuff, but you're also just coaching kids in sports, which I absolutely love. There's something very relatable about this. Can you take us through your coaching prowess right now as Eli Manning, the father?
Yeah, so my three girls who are now 14, 12, and 10 have surpassed my coaching ability, or really, it's maybe not that. It's more that they're playing sports that I know nothing about. Ice hockey, swimming, and tennis.
Okay.
The three sports. I coached them in softball. I coached them in basketball. They're not playing those sports anymore. So I don't know if that's to blame me for my coaching style or just they chose other things. But my son Charlie is 6. He's still playing flag football. So assistant coach on the flag football.
Assistant.
Yeah. I've learned from the coaching. I like to be the assistant. I don't want to have to deal with emails. I don't have to deal with I like to kind of get in and just kind of throw some ideas out there. It's just hard to commit with 3 other kids and their hockey tournaments and this and that. It's like he's kind of the last on the totem pole. So he kind of gets dragged around and misses some, but he hops in some. But I've coached him in some basketball, which is fun. I actually enjoy the basketball probably more than the football right now. And I think back to my childhood. My dad never coached me in football for one league ever. And we didn't start till later. We didn't have, kind of flag football. I played for my school. And then you got into tackle football as my school. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to be that like dad that's, hitting them hard on the football deal. Like basketball and baseball, I feel much more comfortable like coaching them up on those things. Football, when there's other kids involved and other parents, I feel like they're watching me. Or I'm like, I want to stay off to the side here.
I sympathize for Charlie's head coach, and not that he's his poor soul, but there is always this looming presence of, hey, I do know this guy knows everything about football and more, and yet I don't want to ask him. I don't want to put him in a tough spot. Has the head coach come to you as the assistant for 6-year-old flag football to say, hey, we need a big play here. What do you got?
Most of the dads I know well and they're pals, and I really, I kind of tell them, hey, you take over. I actually, most of the times I handle the defense. I'm like, I'll do defense, you take offense. I'll like make sure we're got our contain rules, that we're learn how to pull flags correctly. So I kind of enjoy that aspect of it, and really give full reins to the coaches to do their thing. This is about kids having fun, everybody getting a handoff. If we need a few, I do kind of stay up at night for a few. Like, all right, we got third and 25.
Situational here. Football.
Get a touchdown. Like, what's my trick play? How can I overload one side and kind of sneak a guy out the back or reverse pass? Like, I do stay up a little bit, just kind of thinking of ideas, but also thinking of what a 6-year-old can handle as well is obviously the most important thing.
I'm picturing you more of like a Spags type than like the Perry Fuel type. I'm going through your defensive coordinators. You and Spags, I feel like pretty similar in temperament and really mentality of game day. Let's bring it.
No doubt, no doubt. Double mug, kind of
Double
show on one side, blitz off the other side. Never a clean look. Never like, oh, they're definitely playing single high man here. Like you never know. Keep the offense guessing. Try to confuse the quarterback. Get him. I got my guys in 3 techniques growling at calling the snap count out. They're saying hut before the quarterback. So yeah, doing everything.
They're on it. I love this part of your career because, and your life, honestly, but you seem happy, you seem content. But then like I'm seeing this commercial for Jersey Mike's, and there you are with Danny DeVito. And I'm like, if you told Eli Manning at 21 years old that he's going to be doing commercials with Danny DeVito for Jersey Mike's, what would he have said?
Yeah, what are you talking about? Like why would I be with Danny DeVito? Which has been unbelievable. Danny, he's 80 years old.
Is he 80?
80. He's 80. He's still working. He's still on shows. He's still like right in the mix. Ideas for this commercial. Even kind of when I got signed on and we're going through ideas, he was calling me. Like all of a sudden, I'm getting FaceTimes from Danny DeVito, which is like you answer it no matter what situation you're in. Like a FaceTime Danny DeVito, like you could be in church, you could be anywhere. You're like I got to answer this. I have to leave immediately, and like no telling what might be happening here, what's going on, and so it's been great. We were texting this week about some stuff. He's going to come on. I don't know if I can reveal that, but he'll come on a Manning cast at some point. So he's just full of energy, of ideas, and what an unbelievable career. So it's been so fun getting to know him, and also Jersey Mike's. So I mean, I'm a Jersey guy now. I've been here 20 years, and there's subs, lacrosse tournaments. Like it's an automatic. Like load up on the Jersey Mike's. The kids love them. I love them. So it's been great to work with them as well.
So I grew up in Freehold, New Jersey, and we had one of the first Jersey Mike's. It was in an area called Raintree, which was like a little like condo development. And it was such an attraction. We went there all these years later, I go around. Now I go up to Bristol, Connecticut every week for ESPN. And it's in the middle of Connecticut. I don't know where I am. And it's almost like, some people think of the McDonald's arches, but like I saw a Jersey Mike's sign on the highway, and I'm like, we're pulling over, we're getting that thing, and like that is my weekly treat after. And this is becoming a commercial for Jersey Mike's. I am not an endorser, but you get that number 8 sub and you get it Mike's way. Good night. Like I'm good.
It's good. You're happy. It brings you back to a happy place. It's an unbelievable story, Peter Cancro and what he created and built. So it's been an awesome relationship.
And there's also this Chad Powers show coming out now, which again, 21-year-old Eli Manning, I tell you that you're going to be a part of a television series that's going to be streaming and is going to be a hit with Glenn Powell. What would you have said then?
Yeah, like what? Who? What? What am I doing? Undercover? I don't know how to go undercover. Like,
what is that? So this is like you guys did a bit. Tell the story of it all for the listeners, because I think it's like I remember seeing the bit online, and now it's like a show.
Right. Yeah. So I was doing a show for ESPN. Eli's Place is a history of college football, and kind of doing our research, we found out that Penn State is really maybe one of the only school that does an open tryout for the football team. And they do 2 tryouts, kind of, one in the summer, one in the spring, and that students can come out and try out to walk on to the team. And we're kind of doing a show on walk-ons. And I called Coach Franklin and asked if I could go undercover and try to try out for one of these teams. And he was into the idea, I think they've been doing this for a long time, to kind of see if the coaches would notice if someone showed up with had some ability, like really had some ability, and when they figured out. So he almost is pranking his coaches. So I show up as Chad Powers. I have a mustache and a mullet and a dad bod, and start saying think fast, run fast, and talking about my mom was my high school coach, and I was homeschooled, and just making up lies. But also you start throwing one-on-one routes to the receivers versus the defensive backs, and there's another quarterback there, sweet kid, not a great quarterback, and and all the receivers are coming to me like, Chad, I'm running a post corner. Chad, I'm running a 15-yard comeback. Chad, I'm running a slant. Like they all want me to throw because they see I can throw a little bit, and and then I kind of take off the mask at the end and show them that I'm Eli and this and that. And so this idea is taken off now. Glenn Powell. Michael Waldron's the writer. They've created a Chad Powers. It's coming out on Hulu in a few weeks at the end of September, and it's a six episode show. So it's like this thing's turned into a show where it's just like funny idea, and it's been a lot of fun. I've been like in the writer's room throwing
I was gonna
ideas.
say, are you in like the writer? You're involved. Your hands are on this.
Well, try to be involved with Glenn a little bit, just on some throwing things, like really like of like what it looks like. Hey, breaking the huddle. What are some cadence words? Where are your hands when you're getting the snap? Like different things like that. Some fundamentals where hey, you got to get like a habit. Like hey, I was licking my fingers. Peyton was like fixing his shoulder pad or his knee. Like everybody, Drew Brees always like fixing his shoulder. Like everybody, you got to get like a twitch or a little like something that you have that you do every time, and your signature move a little bit, and then just kind of say, hey, what's the normal life for a college student? What's the involvement of the wife of the head coach or the assistant coaches? Just kind of a little bit into the normal life of a college student and what they're going through and the routine. So try to be helpful in that way.
Dude, I love this. So it's pretty cool, and I like the fact that you still live in the New York area. You're in the tri-state area. What's it like when you go out in the city? Obviously the cops and the firemen are all going to give you your love, and it's just living like that life. I know Hendrik Lundqvist is always in town, and we see all the Knicks players, but I got to think like Eli Manning, you're up there. It might be you and Jeter right now as like the guys. What's it like when you come into the Big Apple and you're at a sporting event, say in Manhattan?
Yeah, no, it's fun. It was fun. This past year was so much fun for me to go to Madison Square Garden and get to watch the Knicks. Like I've been up here 20 years. The Knicks, were not very good for 18 years of that. And so to go to Madison Square Garden and watch the Knicks, go and play playoff games, bringing my son Charlie or going with pals. Went to a bunch of games this year to feel that energy. Like when I got here to New York in 2004, I grew up watching the Knicks and Ewing and Allen Houston and like these great teams and the great energy and them in playoffs. And I never got to experience that. So that's been awesome. And I always get an unbelievable welcome. Now that I'm retired, you can't lose any more games. It's good. Like everything's set in stone. We won a couple of championships. So, they're kind of, happy with me all the time, which is a nice feeling. Sometimes when I was playing, I was like, hey, I'm not going to the city. I'll let everything die down a little bit after that game. But, it's been a great run. The fans have been unbelievable. And I always tell people, I mean, there's not a better place to win than New York City. Now, there might not be a worse place to lose and to have a losing season, going through a bad slump than New York City. But on the verse, it's all worth it to win a couple championships here. It's been unbelievable.
And you withstood it all. I remember I covered that Thanksgiving weekend game, and you're probably cringing against the Vikings in that first Super Bowl season. And it's like sky's falling, can't go any worse. And then you guys turn it around and win the Super Bowl. But I look at that quarterback position in New York. It's so unique. It's so different. And now we've got another young guy in Jaxson Dart, who is also an Ole Miss quarterback, who obviously you've spoken to before. I got to ask, is there like I don't know, is it a crib sheet of like, here's tips on how to handle the city or how you should look at this? Or is it too soon to even go down that stuff because he hasn't been put into the spotlight yet?
Yeah, it's one of those deals. I think the Giants are handling everything the right way. Where you bring in a young quarterback, he's got to just kind of see what New York City is like in the sense of how the media handles the season. And right now, he's getting a dose of that. Obviously the Giants a tough loss, last week. With the Dallas, they had the lead, they lose it. They're 0-2 right now, but Russell played unbelievable, and the team played good. They played well enough to win that game. But just to see like, oh, okay, we've lost 2 in a row. Like, what's the media do? What's the team going around like? Just to see like, hey, how's Russell handle this? How the veterans handling this situation? So he just has an idea. As a young quarterback, you get thrown in there. You're going to make every mistake. You're going to have some struggles. You just got to have an understanding of how they're gonna react to you and to the team and everything. So you're just prepared for that. And I think it's funny. I told Jaxson, when he got here, I knew him when he was at Ole Miss. I said, hey, I'm not going to be a guy that's like giving you advice or calling you every week. Hey, you need to be doing this or doing that. But if you have any questions about anything, I'm here for you, football related, or just, when you're deciding, what town you want to live in, or this or that, or just, moving around town, any ideas, happy to be here. So all of a sudden it's training camp. He calls me, one day. He's like, hey, you got a minute? I'm like, yeah, of course. So, I said, what's up? Such a similar situation we're in, like, bringing in a veteran like Russell Wilson. They brought in
Kurt Warner. Yeah, sure.
I was like, maybe this is dealing with that or something. He goes,
hey,
can you give me, he says, can you give me a reservation at Fort Charles tonight at 6:30?
The best French dip in America.
Yeah. I was like, no, that's not part of the deal. Like when I said I'm happy to help out, I'm not doing that. I'm not your reservations guy. You have to earn the right to call and get your reservation.
That's amazing.
I'm not doing that. So that's not it.
Yep, that's amazing. That's perfect. I love that. I also love that you guys had the Manning cast in week 1, and I said it on my podcast to open it up. I thought you, Randy, and Peyton were fantastic and great, great during the situational stuff. And I think that's the secret sauce of the Manning cast. I've always said this. In real time, we have 2 of the most cerebral players to ever play the game. And to see you guys bounce off each other on game management and how you would handle certain situations in real time, I don't think anyone else is doing that on TV, especially not with 2 different people going back and forth. What's your experience been like with the Manning cast? And now as we enter yet another season of it, what are you guys looking to do to really take it to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we always try to do is kind of, instead of analyzing what just happened, we want to say, hey, what should they do? What is going on right now? How should they handle this situation? And sometimes we're kind of thinking about it live. You can't prepare for that kind of stuff. But that was such a unique in the Bears game. With Minnesota, with like, it's like, all right, they're running out of timeouts, but they have the 2-minute warning. How to do this kickoff where
new rule,
new rule, like where you get it, like and saying like, hey, you should just kick it out of bounds, like take the 40-yard. If you kick it in the end zone, it's still a 35. It's only a 5-yard difference. If they run it out, you're going to lose that time. You lose a timeout. That could be 40 seconds. The difference in getting the ball back with 10 seconds versus 50 seconds. And so you're just like thinking through all these situations about how they should handle this scenario, and that's what's fun. Like I'm kind of throwing it out there. Peyton's reacting. We're arguing about it, or like this. This is what they should do, and I think that's what we love doing as quarterbacks. Is like even when we were watching a game, if we both played Sunday at 1:00 and it's a Sunday night game, and a kind of an interesting clock situation or 2-minute drive is going on, like we'd be calling. We just say, hey, let's get on the phone. Are you watching this? Hey, they should have done this. They should have taken a timeout after that first one. Then they would have 3 shots at the end zone. Now they didn't take the timeout. They're going to waste the timeout. They only have 2 shots at the end zone. Like they screwed that up. And then we bring that back to our coaches to show them, talk about it, so we're prepared for it. Because sometimes it's not the players, it's the coaches that are making these calls and decisions. Right time. Obviously, right. In the clutch moments.
I think one of the cool things with the Manning cast is that you do have the celebrity guests. Check that box. That's great. That's awesome. That might be the shiny object. And you guys are amazing with them. Then you have the current players, which they don't say much, but it's really cool to see them on a Monday after like a Sunday, or especially during the bye week where they're maybe getting a little looser. It's great. Then you have the NFL legends, which I think is really the sweet spot when you bring on a Randy Moss or you have on some of these former players. But the fact that you guys are able to be malleable and fluid with all of them, I think that's kind of the secret sauce of it. When you get that Saturday Night Live style list of the 3 names, or in this case, 2 names, you usually end up getting 2 very famous people and maybe from different walks of life.
Yeah, and I think that's like the fun part. We like to get the current player. Like you said, they probably just had a big game, or you get to kind of hear their views about what's going on, or a lot of them we have some connection to, so we have a funny story or something you could tell that kind of brings the fan involved, and do that sometime kind of it's like the timing of it. It's like the late first quarter. It's like, all right,
Yep.
the game kind of settled in a little bit. It's like, this is when you could leave and miss, go put your kids to bed or do something. Like, you're not going to miss, big moments necessarily. Like, hey, bring in a different, a different point of view, or bring in some different action at this point. The celebrity, kind of same thing, kind of middle of the second quarter. It's not a 2-minute drive yet. It's not a situational thing. Just kind of bring in somebody funny, and it can lighten the mood a little bit. And then usually at the end of the game, having that former player that's been in those situations, he understands when the moments are coming, how he would handle those moments. Randy Moss was unbelievable, just because he's on TV. He talks
Follows
football.
it.
So
Yep.
he's right in the middle of it. He knows what's going on. He knows Justin Jefferson, who's in Minnesota. They have a true connection. You saw him fired up when Minnesota scored a touchdown. So they're kind of living it also. They're a fan. They're rooting for it, but they also know the game.
Who has been the most pleasant surprise? I'd say as a current player, as a guest. Like, to me, anytime I get on the phone with Baker Mayfield, I'm like, oh, this guy could be put on TV right now. But you guys have had so many. Who's a current player that blew you guys away, and you're like, oh, I didn't maybe expect that guy to be as dialed in or as entertaining as he was?
Well, I mean, Tua broke out the guitar, started playing songs on the guitar, which is always fun, always interesting. So I think that's kind of a fun moment for them, to be on TV and to see like a little lighter side or a different side of them. I mean, Mahomes is always great. Josh Allen, always great. The quarterbacks are usually good, but so it's like you said, the young guys are usually like a little nervous. They're scared to say something, but like then you get even he's a current player, but like Steph Curry is a guy.
Yep.
He's so comfortable in front of the TV where he can give shots, he can make fun of you, he can call out someone else, and so that's when it's fun. Like, I like it when they feel like, hey, I'm going to take a shot at you, but you take a shot at Peyton, take a shot at me.
Go for it.
Make it seem like, hey, we're old pals and good buddies. And so when you have a really good relationship with the player, whether maybe I coached him in the Pro Bowl, or we hung out, or we did something together, it makes it a little bit better.
The celebrity side of it. I know Paul Rudd came on. He was excellent. We've obviously had Kevin Hart on the show. Like, who's a celebrity that you've had on there? Like, oh, this guy's awesome, and I'm so happy we had he or she on.
Yeah, Snoop. I mean, you can't beat Snoop Dogg, right? He had a fog machine, which was so cool. I don't know where he got a fog machine, and it's coming on just like this smoky fog was all around him. So I asked if I could get a fog machine in my room. They said no. He was snacking on stuff, but he gave me it was my birthday. He gave me a Death Row Records gold chain. I got it up there, not in my office. So, I mean, he gave me a birthday present. Peyton didn't give me a birthday present that year. So Snoop Dogg, he's a tough act to follow for sure.
All right, I have an Eli Manning story. I want you to confirm it, and if it's true, maybe take it to the next level and explain it on this podcast. You're known as a prankster, obviously, and we've heard a lot about that over your years as a player. But Saturday Night Live had their 50th anniversary party this year. 10 years earlier, they had the Saturday Night Live 40th. Paul Rudd, the comedian, told me this story, and please tell me if this is something you've done before. You're sitting there in a room with Kevin Nealon and Paul Rudd and a few others, and Kevin Nealon asks if you guys can get a photo, and you say, yeah, let me see your phone. I'll take the selfie, and then I'll also put my number in it. Can you take it from there as to what the prank was, and is this an Eli Manning signature?
Yeah, so like you said, we're kind of in this room. It's just these former people that had hosted it or been on Saturday Night Live. And actually, I think Kevin Nealon, I'm with Peyton. We're chatting with Kevin Nealon, and he's like, hey, can we get a picture? And we're both like, yeah, sure. And then he hands me the phone to take a picture of he and Peyton.
Get out of here.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess, yeah. So you really want a picture of us. You want a picture of Peyton. That's fine. So I take the picture, and he's like, kind of asked for the phone. I'm like, hey, I'm going to send it to myself. So I have the picture. I'll send it to Peyton. So, we can have the picture also. He's like, oh yeah, go ahead. And he's kind of chatting with Peyton. And so,
I love the idea of Eli Manning needing a picture of Peyton Manning and Kevin Nealon in his own phone.
Hey, but I'll have it to send, make sure Peyton has it or whatever. So I, instead of doing that, I just went into his settings, into his languages, and changed his entire phone into Chinese. So it's just like all symbols, like instead of like, you have no idea what anything says anywhere. And, boom, like I think I might have erased the picture also.
Picture's gone.
Erase the picture, your phone's in Chinese, here you go. So of course he gets it. He just like puts the phone back in his pocket in his jacket, like, goes throughout the rest of the night. And probably the next morning or late that night, he's probably looking for the picture. And then like looking through his text, it's like, wait, what is going on? My phone, it's been hacked. It's been this completely turned to Chinese, and then you can't turn it out because you
You don't
can't.
know how to do that.
You don't know what anything says. I mean, you can find the settings.
It's a horrifying prank to do to someone. Horrifying.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's one of my go-tos. I've graduated to some more advanced things with the phone. There's a lot more features and things I've learned, but that was an original.
Take us to that night, because I think that's a cool like celebrity in sports and all that stuff. Like, what's that room like? And did you stay for the Prince performance that is legendary afterwards?
Yes, and that I was going to get to that. So that, I mean, the night's unbelievable. The pre-party, just seeing, I grew up on Saturday Night Live. Like, that was what we did on, Steve Martin and Chevy Chase and Bill Murray and Eddie Murphy, and I mean these, Seth Meyers, like these legends guys, Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, obviously.
Sure, but you remember watching Chris Farley?
But
Sure.
you watch, David Spade. I mean, these unbelievable, unbelievable guys that you grew up with, and to see them, you kind of like want to be like, I'm gonna be cool. I'm not gonna ask for pictures. Just like shake hands.
I would immediately go into like a Sandler voice, like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" Like, I would do it. I don't know how to resist.
Yes, and then you get to watch the show and be in the stands and watch it, and then the after party, they have the music, and they have this. Everybody that's been a musical guest kind of comes out and plays some songs. You have like Taylor Swift, Paul McCartney, and they're all kind of playing together. Like Taylor Swift's singing, but Paul McCartney's like kind of looking at her playing the song. I don't know if he knew the song or he can just like watch her play and just kind of figure it out. And then Prince came out, and it was like everyone just like stepped away. They're like, no, I'm not playing when Prince is playing. Like, you can't match this guy just on the guitar, him singing. And he just did like 3 songs solo by himself. And like, every artist is just in awe. He was just amazing. And, just such a cool experience to be there, to take that in and be a part of it.
How was your hosting experience? Remember the famous one, we were on the jury stand and you're doing the emoji faces? Like,
yeah.
Everyone talks about their SNL experiences, that it's such a whirlwind and you're up all night. And do you look back on it now with such fond memories? I can only imagine it's like one of the career highlights.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely one of my highlights. I love doing it. I love the week. And I just said, hey, if I'm going to do it, I'm going all in. And I remember like being in one of those first meetings, and you're in Lorne Michaels' room. All the writers and actors, actresses, they're all writers also. So they're all in there kind of, spitting ideas out. This is probably on Monday afternoon, and there's no script. They haven't started writing anything. They just had a show 2 days before, so it's almost like a game week. It's like, hey, you just played a game on Saturday, now it's Monday.
I never thought of it that way. You're right, and there's a routine.
Right, who's our guest? Who are we playing this week? What it's kind of like get to know Eli at that moment, and it's like they're watching film of me and they're asking me questions. And I said, hey guys, I'm wide open. I'll do anything you want. I mean, probably won't do full nudity or total nudity, but a Speedo I'm probably okay with. And I said, just coach me up. Like, y'all are the funny ones. If, at any point during the week, if I'm not reading the joke right or I'm not doing it right, just like tell me. I am coachable.
Picturing you going into like Bobby Moynihan's office like he's Tom Coughlin. Like, just teach me. Like, what do we need?
Coach me up. Like, I'm here to be coached. I want it to be great. And I was just there all week. It's late nights. They start at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. You go to 1 o'clock every night, if not later. And it was just blast. It's, hanging with those guys in between kind of ideas or writing sessions. You're going to each one's room and kind of they're spitting ideas, and you're trying to offering up things or just kind of saying, yes, you're perfect. Just, but just a fun week. Had a bunch of my teammates came to the Saturday night show. A bunch of my high school buddies who I used to watch Saturday Night Live with came to the show, and just, you have a big time.
Where was the after party that night? Do you remember?
I can't remember where it was. I mean, so you don't you don't start the after party until you get there at 2.
And they don't tell you, this is like Saturday Night Live lore. They don't tell you where it is till after the show, and it's kind of like a buzzword, like pass it along, like this is where it is.
Right. So we had got to take a bunch of friends, go there, and then there's the after party. I was ready to go. I was feeling no pain and
Feeling good.
just feeling just getting into it. And then my wife's like, "It's 4:00. We're going home." I'm like, "Yeah, but then it's like the after." And she's like, "No, we're not. We have a baby at home, and I'm going home, and you're coming with me." I'm like, "Yes, ma'am. All right, here, let's go."
All right, I love this. Let's talk a little bit of football, but more Giants memories. So this podcast portion is going to be for the diehard Giants fan who has been longing for diehard Giants moments the last few seasons. I'm going to bring up a game or a moment, and you just wax poetic as much as you want to, because I think this is time to go down memory lane quite a bit. I'm going to start off with maybe the most gutsy, heroic, tough as shit performances I've ever seen in a game. It was at Candlestick Park in the NFC Championship game, that second Super Bowl run where you were getting knocked on your ass in the mud and you just kept on getting up and getting up and getting up and delivering one strike after another. It's my favorite Eli Manning game, and that includes the 2 amazing Super Bowls. What are your memories of that afternoon at Candlestick?
Yeah, well, I think I'm still sore from that game. It took a lot of hits, and I mean their defense was so good. Patrick Willis, Bowman, their defensive line, Justin Smith, Alden Smith. I mean they had were loaded all over. Carlos Rogers, a defensive back. I mean you can there was like I think like 7 guys were on the Pro Bowl that year, and it was just tough. And our defense was playing great, and so you knew it was like one of those games. It's like we just can't turn the ball over. We can't make a mistake. We gotta, be aggressive. We still gotta throw the ball, but you just can't. You're getting hit. Just keep taking hits. Take some sacks. Don't force it early. Don't make it easy for their offense, because our defense was playing good. Their offense, Alex Smith was there, but they weren't explosive. They kind of relied on their defense to get them good field position. I'm like, we kind of got to play that same type of game. And, sure enough, just the touchdown to Manningham was a play we run a bunch, early in the game. Victor Cruz and these little shallow routes. He was, had these option routes. He was getting open every time. So they finally kind of doubled him. We could hit the tight end behind it. We're dropping the safety down, and then they were keeping the other safety kind of doubling Akeem Nicks. So, hey, let's double Victor, double Akeem Nicks. And I said, hey, same play. Usually to the left side, we have a comeback. I'm like, we can run Manningham on a post. It's not like there's the safety's not getting to the middle. They're doubling. Just run the same play. Just put Manningham on a post, and it'll be there. And Coach Gilbride and Coughlin liked the idea and said, all right, they were always great about that. At this point,
were they collaborative? I feel like at that point you had earned the right, but also those are 2. I mean, Gilbride and Coughlin are 2, old school coaches who might say it's coach down to player.
Right. No, I think with Coach Gilbride, I've been with him 8 years. We have been in just his offense, his system. So, it was like, hey, anytime I felt strongly about something, he's like, go do it, make it happen. We used to have meetings with the receivers. So like we had our own stuff where, you had your rules and you didn't want to get too far off, but you kind of ask permission, talk about it. And if you believed it, take it. And so he called it that third down, and sure enough, Manningham on the post, and great concentration by him that gave us gave us the lead and got us back in the game. And then Tynes kicking the field goal to win it was pretty special.
Such a cool environment too. Candlestick. This new San Francisco stadium is fine in Santa Clara. Candlestick though, that place was a buzzsaw.
It was tough. Rough crowd. I mean, there was something as the coaches used to go through the crowd to get to the press box, to the coaches' box. They were like, they're getting stuff thrown at them, getting yelled at, and they said that was always the toughest crowd.
All right. 2 weeks later, you guys play in the Super Bowl in Indianapolis, and it's the Manningham play to get things going in that fourth quarter drive. The NFL Films treatment of it is really good. And I wrote a book with Victor Cruz, and I've heard his side of it, of looking at that scoreboard Megatron and being like, wait, the Jumbotron, like, wait, he's in. Like, that it's maybe the greatest pass in Giants history, and that includes a Tyree helmet catch. Hot take. Your memories of the Manningham pass in the second Super Bowl.
Yeah, just remember, it's first down. We're trying to, really kind of thinking, run a max protection, keeping the tight end, keeping the back end, just work a two-man route, kind of the Victor and Akeem Nicks are to the right side, and they're going to run kind of a little shallow route and return and a corner route, and we just got kind of look over there and got nothing. I mean, they just they kind of just had the perfect coverage. They're also playing cover two to Manningham's side on the left side. But I kind of seen earlier in the game where when I was looking one way, the safeties would follow my eyes a little bit. So I had nowhere to go to the right. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to try to hit Manningham down the sideline. It's like I'm going to throw it in a spot where either he can get it or nobody, or it's going to go out of bounds and it's going to be 2nd and 10. You can't take a sack here, not the scramble. You got no check downs. And so just try to put it in that spot, and just an unbelievable catch by him, because it's like it's over the outside, so he can't see the ball.
I think Patrick Chung is an inch away.
He's getting hit on the sideline, and he's got to keep his feet in down while taking a hit. Belichick's on the sideline right at him. I mean, it's a crowded spot. So, I mean, what a just a perfect way to start a 2-minute drive is, hey, you're backed up on you're kind of inside your 10, and now boom, we're at midfield. We got plenty of time now. It's not even a 2-minute drive anymore. It's like, hey, we can run the ball. We got to run clock. We got to just kind of figure out this situation, how we're gonna run this.
All right, let's go to the previous Super Bowl, and we always talk about obviously the Tyree play. I want to talk about the Kevin Boss play. Can you get into the Kevin Boss play? Because that one is maybe for the diehard Giants fan almost as equally exciting as the Tyree catch.
Yeah, no, I think that's also kind of a play. They were playing a unique defense that we really hadn't seen. That was typical Belichick, New England, like you get to the biggest game, and they're running stuff that we haven't seen a whole lot. They done some of it, but they were kind of doubling Plaxico to the left every time, playing like 2-man, so a defensive back and a safety. And they'd have Rodney Harrison was down to the tight end side, but on the snap he would bail out and kind of almost double Amani Toomer. And so I said, we kind of on the sideline with Gilbride, I said, hey, if we get a little play action and just try to hold these linebackers, I think we can hit Boss down the middle of the field before the corner overlaps. He's like, all right, let's do it. 136 max. We kind of called comebacks, Y seam. I mean, a play that was in our playbook. I don't know if it was in the game.
Did you ever use it?
Yeah, we'd run it before. It was like a play that was in, but it probably wasn't in that week necessarily. Like, hey, this is a staple play. It's going to be great for us this week. But it was something we could get to. Again, the advantage of being in the same offense 4 years is that we could get to stuff that we haven't practiced in a few weeks, just because we've been there. And so hit the play action, got the safeties to kind of bail out, got the linebacker just to take the fake enough to hit Boss down the middle. And we hadn't moved the ball well, really all game. So that was like our first big play, big chunk, and put us in, position to score the touchdown and take the lead.
All right. A couple weeks before that, you guys are in Dallas, and the Cowboys are the #1 seed. This ends up being the Tony Romo TO. That's my quarterback game. But people forget, into the first half, Giants needed to score one of the greatest Giants drives of all time to end the half, getting in the end zone at Texas Stadium. What do you remember?
Yeah, just early on, we hit a couple corner routes. Hit a corner route to Steve Smith on the right sideline. Then they hit Kevin Boss on another corner route a few plays later, and then kind of got down there fast. We ran one of our kind of staple kind of red zone plays. Really the same play I talked about earlier, the Manningham on the post. We didn't have the post there just because we were too tight, but just kind of Amani Toomer, coming in on a little option route, and he didn't have to do much. He kind of got a little rub. They were confused, put it on him. He split 2 defenders. So just right there, just a huge drive. The first half, Amani had another touchdown on a curl route. Yep. He turned it up for a touchdown, but hadn't moved the ball all that great. Hadn't done much. So to go there and kind of take the lead and get a score right before halftime was such a big momentum boost right there, and a huge drive for us to get some confidence going.
I don't know if it's urban legend, if it's real or what. When they were building that stadium, what's the story? Is that true what you did, or is that not true? Tell me, because that's like, I've heard that, but I never heard that from you.
Yeah, so yes, it is true-ish. So we played the very first game in, I guess, 2009. the Cowboy Stadium, new stadium gets built,
The
and so
star, Jerry World.
world and the whole deal. It's bigger and better, and so each locker room, away locker room has kind of away locker room attendance, and they work the visiting locker room every week. So yeah, we're in there for the first week. 2 weeks later, Washington's in there. They kind of that same kind of locker room attendant is there, kind of handling that. And so after the games, I got to know these guys. It was the same guy that was in the old stadium. I would go in. They have like a little office in the back, and I'd go in there, sign some autographs, and they might have a 12-pack of cold beer for me and the
For
boys.
the visiting quarterback. I love this.
For the bus ride home, and so give him a little tip. And so he said, so we're new place, new stadium. He says, hey. I'm in that little office. He said, I'm starting a new tradition. I want all the, players that come in to sign the wall here in my office, and we'll have that kind of forever. And the great players coming through, but you'll be the first one because this is the first game of the season. I said, sure, that'd be an honor. So I signed it, and I said, hey, first game or first win in the new stadium. Wrote the score of the game. I thought it'd be good to kind of recognize,
kick things off.
Sign it. So and then like the picture got out and it got word. But honestly, I went back the next year and there were 30 signatures on the wall. And then I went back the next year and he'd been fired and all the wall had been painted over.
It's gone. So your name's no longer there. It's gone.
It's not there anymore. But I didn't. I think people just think like I just signed the middle of the locker room. I did not just sign the middle.
I think when people think it was like in like the concrete or something, like you would see like it's forever. And you're like, no, that's it. Okay, good clarification. My last game I want to mention because I was in the building. I felt like it was very emotional for Giants fans and for you guys. The game after Wellington Mara passed away against Washington. Sure. And you guys absolutely trounced them. But the emotions in that building, I don't know if it's ever talked about enough by Giants fans and Giants media, but that was a special one.
Yeah, no. And there was two to kind of go with that. The last game, we knew Wellington Mara was on his deathbed, and we didn't know how much longer he was going to make it. We played Denver at home the week before, and had hit Amani Toomer on a touchdown last second, 7 seconds left on fourth down, kind of hit him to win it. That was like our walk-off. That was the last game Wellington Mara ever watched. He wasn't at the game. He was in the hospital and then passed away the next week, and then obviously then had the Washington game that followed that. And kind of, a lot of emotions. We had been to the funeral that week in New York City, everything going on. So many of the players on that team knew Wellington Mara. He was around. We had a friendship, a relationship with him, and he was just such a wonderful person. So, you kind of felt the whole community, the whole stadium, everybody weeping, and Tiki had a big day and put a big, a little, and I think Wellington Mara, if there was one team he didn't like, it was Washington. Of like the NFC East, and like everyone, hey, who's the biggest rival? Which one don't you like? Some say Cowboys or Eagles. I think Wellington. I think it might have been Washington. Going back from like the 50s and 60s about stuff going on, and so it was good to get that win.
Sean Payton once told me a really cool story. I guess there's very rare years where you play the Jets and the NFC East opponents in the same year. And I guess that you got the Giants, and it was, before you, I believe, and it was when Payton was there, and used to take the train to games. They used to take the train, and Wellington Mara would ride the train with the team, I guess. It seems like it's so archaic, but you would go to like Washington and you take a train, or you go to Philly, you take the train. So I guess in early 2000s, the Giants, they beat the Jets, they beat Dallas, they played Philly, and then they had Washington as one of the last games. And they beat the Redskins at the time, and they're all taking the train back, and Wellington Mara came back with a beer, and he called it it's called the gentleman's sweep. When you beat the Jets and you beat all three in the NFC East, and you do so, and you sweep them, and I guess it was just like cool, but that was the team for whatever reason. Not Dallas, not Philly. Mara loved beating Washington.
Yeah. He did. He loved being in Washington. So to do that after his funeral, there was a lot of emotions, and the whole Mara family definitely definitely appreciated that one. And so we've had some good celebrations on some train rides back from Washington over the years. So it's always a fun one.
I'm going to close with this one. I think your legacy as a Giant was always cemented, but it was really perfectly put in your retirement speech. Of course, Wellington Mara had said, once a Giant, always a Giant. He passes away. You end up retiring as a Giant. And in your retirement speech, it's one of the most beautiful things ever said. In one of these things, he said, for me, it's only a Giant, and how important it was for you to bookend your career with just one team. Do you want to take us through maybe the formulation of that speech and the sentiment behind it?
Yeah, and I definitely wanted to include that quote. It's such a impactful thing about the Giants and just kind of the way they run their organization. It is a family run organization that's been in the family, for 100 years, and it's the equipment managers have been there for forever, and the trainers in the film department, and people in the front office. You don't leave. You go there, you stay there. They treat you right. It's a family. They say, they still refer every game as we. When we won the championship, when we won this game, it is not you. It is everybody working together towards a common goal, which is so special. And so it was special for me. And when I retired, to think about going to somewhere else or playing another organization, I just said, there's no way. I've only been here. This place has been so special for me. I've loved playing for the New York Giants more than anyone's ever loved playing for another organization. I truly believe that. And so it was important that it's not just once a Giant, only a Giant. It is, once a Giant, always a Giant. It is only a Giant. And that's always going to be on my resume. That that's all I have. I didn't transfer anywhere else. I went to one high school. I went to one college. Played with one NFL team. That's something that's not going to happen too often anymore.
It's beautiful. All right. I so appreciate you joining this. This is so cool. I'm having such a good time with Omaha. It's been a thrill for me. One last time I'm going to promote the Manning cast, because this week you got a good one. You don't always get great Monday night games. Lions, Ravens, that's a great Monday night game.
That's a big one. Both these teams have, been right in the mix of the playoffs on the AFC and the NFC side. Jared Goff's playing great. Lamar Jackson's playing unbelievable. Derrick Henry's. There's so many, both teams are, you kind of feel are truly Super Bowl contenders. Can they make that leap? Can they make that next step to beat the Bills or beat Kansas City in the NFC? Can you beat Philly? Or can you take that leap to get to the Super Bowl? And both of them are feeling they're still in that window, but time is kind of running out. You never know how long you have that opportunity. So this will be a fun one. Should be a great atmosphere and a great game.
Can't wait. Manning cast Monday night. Eli Manning, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thanks, Peter. Appreciate it, pal.
That's why we do this. Eli Manning, incredible interview. I did not know some of the stuff he was telling about. I did not know the true story behind the Dallas locker room. I thought it still was there. The way I thought it was, like, Eli really sneakily took a marker and was like, F you, first game, Dallas, I own this place. Eli Manning signature. The story itself actually makes a lot more sense. And then it turns out it's not even there anymore. From that to the SNL stuff to the incredible Jaxson Dart story, which, if you're not from New York, or if you don't, or you're not a foodie, like Fort Charles Prime, let me just give a little context to it. It's this like 8-table restaurant in Greenwich Village in New York City. It's impossible to get a table. It's like one of those Rayo's deals where each table is accounted for. So like you might meet a guy who works on Wall Street who every Tuesday night has the table from 6 to 7:30. And there's a guy who might have the table for the last 10 years every Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. Like, it's one of those where you can't just go on Open Table or Resy and get a reservation. What they specialize in is this burger that's outstanding, but also a French dip that is off the charts. I've been one time with my friend Tony McDevitt, who was lucky enough to get a table and then invited me as one of his guests. And it's probably the greatest meal I've ever had in my life. So you have that as the background, and then Jaxson Dart calling Eli not for tips on how to handle, the outside blitz, not for tips how to handle living in Northern Jersey, but needing to know what to do to get into New York City, and not tips on, hey, I got Russ and Winston here, but I kind of want to make my voice heard in the locker room. How would you go about? Nope. hey, Eli, can you help me get a reservation? And Eli put a quick stop to that. I love that. And that's why we do this podcast. That's why we do the Schrager Hour. We'll have another great guest next week. Thank you so much for listening. An amazing, amazing NFL schedule up ahead in week 3. We'll be recapping it all next week, and we'll have a guest that you will be sure to enjoy. Have a great one, guys. Thanks for listening.